Story from the Daily Mail. It says, 2 already approved drugs may effectively treat the millions of Americans estimated to have long COVID. This is guanfacine, an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder drug sold under the name Tenex. And then another drug that is abbreviated NAC that I won't even try to pronounce is a concussion drug that is branded Mucomist, were found to reduce brain fog in 2/3 of patients. So you have the pharmaceutical companies now that are on the case trying to come up with drugs to treat what they call long COVID. And they've discovered, apparently, that, what do you know, ADHD drugs may do the job. Now, it may interest you to know that this study where they made this discovery, you want to just take a guess on how big the study was? Like how many patients were included in the study? Well, it turns out 12. This was a study on 12 patients. And that is what led them to the conclusion that you can give ADHD drugs for quote unquote long COVID. The article continues, doctors at Yale University believe the combination protects the brain's prefrontal cortex from stress and inflammation, which can break down neural connections and cause the symptoms associated with brain fog. While the study was small, only on 12 patients, the researchers believe they have found an effective treatment for the elusive condition, one that is available at pharmacies right now. Well, hey, they only tried it on 12 patients, but that's enough. Just give it to, you tried it out on 12. It seemed to maybe work on a few of them. So let's give it to millions of people. Why not? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report that around 8% of Americans are suffering long COVID, and more than 3,500 have died as a result. Okay. In a certain way, this actually makes sense because ADHD is about as real as long COVID. So, of course, you would treat them with the same drug. Am I saying that long COVID doesn't exist at all? I'm skeptical about it, but I feel the same way about it as I do about ADHD, actually. So actually, again, it does make sense that they're using the same drug. ADHD. I mean, are there people who, we have the category of ADHD, and are there people who fall into that category? Sure. But the problem is that it's such a vague, all-encompassing concept that there's no way really to define it. So what is long COVID? I looked up the official symptoms as they're listed on the CDC website for what qualifies as long COVID. Remember, they said 8% of Americans have long COVID. What does that mean exactly? So here's a list of symptoms. Tiredness or fatigue, symptoms that get worse after physical or mental effort, fever, difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, cough, chest pain, fast beating or pounding heart, difficulty thinking, headache, sleep problems, dizziness when you stand up, pins and needles feelings, change in smell or taste, depression, anxiety, diarrhea, stomach pain, joint or muscle pain, rash, changes in menstrual cycles. So all of those, they are quantifying as symptoms of long COVID. So that's another way of saying that, like, if you have COVID, anything that happens to you physiologically after COVID could qualify as long COVID. So anyone could have it. And that's particularly the case for these kinds of quote unquote symptoms that are impossible to define. Like, anyone can convince themselves that they have some of this. It's going to be difficult to convince yourself if you like a fever, you either have that or you don't. But brain fog? If you want to convince yourself you have brain fog, you can. Brain fog is something that everybody experiences. Whatever that means exactly, it's impossible to define. But it's something that, whatever it means, people experience it probably every day. I wake up every morning, I have brain fog. That's been the case my entire life. Have I always had long COVID? Difficulty concentrating. Have you gone through a day in your life when, at least for a period of that day, you didn't have difficulty concentrating? Have you ever in your life experienced one full day where you were able to concentrate perfectly without any difficulty? Have you ever experienced that in your life? And then, of course, depression, anxiety. I mean, this is what the pharmaceutical companies do. This is bread and butter for them. When they can vaguely diagnose and prescribe treatments for symptoms that are incredibly ambiguous and that literally anyone could have. And it's the same thing that they've been doing in the psychiatric world for a long time, and now this is what's happening with COVID as well. And that'll do it for this portion of the show as we move over to the members block. Hope to see you there. If not, talk to you tomorrow. Godspeed.